She didn't say a single word, but that stare, that final stare, said everything. It was cold, it was powerful, and it left fans wondering, what was June thinking in that last moment? Was it a warning, a goodbye, or something even darker? The Handmaid's Tale didn't end with an explosion or a scream. It ended with silence, and somehow that silence spoke louder than words. But to truly understand what that look meant, we have to go back. Back to where her pain started. Back to the beginning of her fight. June Osborne started as a quiet, obedient handmaid in Gilead. She was trapped. She wore red. She followed orders. But deep inside, she never gave up. From the very beginning, she was watching, learning, waiting. She lost her name. They called her Offred. She was forced to live in a house where everything was about control. Her body, her voice, even her thoughts. Her only crime was being a mother, a wife, and a woman in a cruel world. When her daughter Hannah was taken, something inside June cracked, but it didn't break. She became tougher, smarter, colder. Season after season, she tried to escape. She failed. She was beaten. She saw her friends hanged. But she also found other women like her. Some were broken, some were brave, and some, like Emily and Moira, became family. June became a symbol, not just of pain, but of resistance. She used everything around her to fight back. A pen, a stolen map, a whispered plan. She never had guns, she never had power, but she had rage, and she had hope. The moment she smuggled all those children out of Gilead in Season 3 was the moment she truly became dangerous. She didn't just survive. She started to change the game, but that victory came with pain. She lost more people. She carried guilt. And when she finally made it to Canada, she wasn't free. She was still haunted. Luke, her husband, didn't know how to handle the new version of her. She was no longer the June he remembered. She was harder. She was focused on revenge. Then came Fred Waterford, the man who used and hurt her. The man who represented everything evil about Gilead. June didn't just want justice. She wanted him to feel the fear he once gave her. When she and the other survivors hunted him down in the woods and tore him apart, it wasn't just revenge. It was release. But even after that, her mind didn't rest. She couldn't sleep. She couldn't love Luke the same way. She started pulling away, and Serena, Fred's widow, became the unexpected shadow always nearby. Both women were enemies. And yet both women shared a twisted connection. Motherhood, loss, anger, power. As Season 5 came closer to the end, June's world kept collapsing. Luke was arrested. Serena was back in the picture. Hannah was still trapped in Gilead. And June. She was standing on the edge, torn between staying and fighting or running again. This is where the story gets heavy. Because everything she'd gone through, every choice, every scream, every tear, it all led to that quiet, final moment. That stare. That silence. That unanswered question. She didn't blink. She didn't flinch. Just stood there, eyes locked, lips sealed. The train rumbled behind her, but inside June's world, time had stopped. This was no ordinary ending. No running. No tears, just one look, quiet, unreadable, and terrifyingly calm. The kind of silence that makes your heart race. Because in that moment, June wasn't just a character. She was a question no one could answer. The final scene opens with tension thick in the air. June is at the train station with her baby, Nicole. Canada is no longer safe. Luke has been arrested for defending her. She has no one left to trust, no one to turn to. And so she does what she's always done, she runs. But this time, she's not alone. She has her daughter in her arms. She's not escaping for herself anymore. She's escaping to protect someone else. But just as the train doors are about to close, she sees Serena, the woman who once helped build Gilead, the woman who once saw June as property. Now Serena is no longer in power. She's just a mother, desperate and scared, holding her own baby, Noah. And for one strange second, both women lock eyes. The camera zooms in. It doesn't need words. Because that stare between June and Serena says it all. Years of betrayal. Pain, loss, rage. And yet, something else. Understanding. Forgiveness, maybe. Maybe not. But in that moment, they are mirrors. Two mothers, two survivors. Both trying to escape the world they helped shape. Serena steps onto the same train. She doesn't speak. She doesn't ask permission. June doesn't stop her. The space between them is cold, but it's not violent, it's heavy. Full of secrets. The babies cry softly in the background, but the two women remain frozen, connected by something deeper than words. The scene shifts to June's face. Her eyes don't blink, her lips don't move, but her expression, it's not peace, it's not anger, it's something in between. Something you can't name. And that's when you realize the show isn't going to explain it. It's going to leave you with that feeling. That question, why didn't June stop her? Why didn't she say anything? Is she planning something? Has she accepted her fate? Is this the beginning of a new alliance or the calm before a storm? Even the way the camera pulls back, slow, haunting, quiet, it tells you that this moment is meant to haunt you. Not with noise, but with silence. The silence that asks, what now? This isn't a happy ending. It's not a tragic one either. It's open. It's chilling. And it's the kind of ending that makes you stare at your screen long after the credits roll. Not because of what was said, but because of what wasn't. It wasn't just a stare. It was a message. One without sound, but full of meaning. The kind of message only a woman who's lost everything and survived could give. June didn't speak in that moment because she didn't need to. Her silence was sharp, like a knife. But the question that burned in every viewer's mind was simple. What did that stare really mean? Some say it was surrender. That after everything, escaping Gilead, losing friends, surviving Fred, watching Luke taken, June had finally let go. Not out of weakness, but exhaustion. She had carried the weight of the war, of motherhood, of revenge, for too long. And that look, it was the look of someone who knows there's no more running, no more fighting, just surviving. But others saw something else, something colder, a warning, a quiet promise. June didn't stop Serena from stepping on that train. Not because she accepted her, but because she didn't have to say anything. That stare may have meant, I'm watching you. Don't make me finish what Gilead started. It wasn't forgiveness. It was control. Power in its purest, most silent form. Another theory digs deeper. Maybe June was looking at her own reflection in Serena. Think about it. Both women have made choices that cost lives. Both justified their actions for the children. Maybe June's stare wasn't about anger or revenge. Maybe it was shame. A realization that she and Serena, as different as they are, have become disturbingly similar. Survivors, yes, but also architects of pain. And then there's the most surprising theory, alliance. What if June saw something in Serena that she never expected? A mother, a broken woman trying to protect her child. Just like her. Could that stare have been the beginning of something unspoken? A truce? A silent agreement to leave behind hate for the sake of their babies? Fans across the world have debated this scene endlessly. On Reddit threads, review blogs, and podcasts, everyone asks, why didn't she speak? Because in The Handmaid's Tale, words have always been dangerous, used to control, used to lie. June, once stripped of her voice, now chooses silence as power. And the writers? They knew what they were doing. This wasn't just an ending, it was a challenge. They gave us no answer, just an open window into June's soul. They trusted the audience to feel it more than understand it. Even the lighting matters here. That cold gray-blue tone, the camera's slow pullback. No music, just stillness. These choices weren't random. They were surgical, designed to leave us sitting in our own discomfort, asking the questions June won't answer. So was it a goodbye? A threat? A connection? Maybe all of them. Or maybe none. Because the truth is, the silence wasn't empty. It was full. And it still hasn't stopped echoing. She didn't wave, she didn't cry, she didn't even blink. June walked into the unknown and left us behind. But that's the thing about an ending like this. It doesn't close a door. It opens one, wide, and, behind that door, a whole new storm is waiting. Because the Handmaid's Tale may have ended, but June Osborne's story, that silence may have been her final scene, but it wasn't her last word. Let's talk about what comes next. The sequel series, The Testaments, is already in development. And it doesn't just continue the story, it changes the entire future of Gilead. Based on Margaret Atwood's second novel, The Testaments jumps forward in time. Years have passed. Gilead has aged. New leaders have risen and fallen. But the core remains. The regime still lives. The fear still spreads. And secrets still rot beneath the surface. But what's truly exciting? June is not the only voice anymore. The Testaments introduces new characters. Girls born into Gilead's lies. Others raised outside it. Some believe the system. Others want to burn it down. But the biggest question, where is June in this future? Is she a whisper? A ghost? A revolutionary leader hiding in the shadows? Or is she the very reason Gilead finally falls? There's another layer to this. Hannah, June's daughter. Her story is unfinished. The Testaments hints at Hannah's future. Grown up, renamed, reshaped by Gilead's cruel system. Could the final stare be about Hannah? Could June's silence be a vow that the fight isn't over until her daughter is free? And what about Serena? That moment on the train wasn't random. Two enemies side by side, each holding a baby. That image wasn't just emotional, it was symbolic. Could Serena become a reluctant ally? Or will her hunger for power poison her? Once again, the Testaments offer space to explore these paths. What does resistance look like years later? Does Gilead fall from the outside or from rot within? Is June's silence the beginning of a deeper, darker mission? And will the next fight be one of ideas instead of violence? The show's creators have already hinted that the final scene wasn't a full stop. It was a semicolon, a pause before the story moves forward again with more complexity, more pain, and perhaps more hope. In the end, we didn't get an answer. We got a stare. But that stare cracked the world open. Now it's up to the next chapter to tell us what crawls out of the silence, justice, forgiveness, or revenge. So was this the end of The Handmaid's Tale? Yes. But was it the end of June? Not even close.